Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors, episode 27. We are live with Abieyuwa joining us from Texas. Thank you for joining us, Abby. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Web3 Warriors. I'm David Krome, go by Krome in the metaverse. And today we're going to be talking about international collaboration in the Web3 space, specifically on the DAO front, but also just looking at the creative energy and being able to collaborate creatively with people all around the world on other continents. And specifically here with Abby, she's done a lot of amazing work working with the African NFT community and collaborating cross borders in that space. So we'll be speaking to her a little bit about that. As we always do on Web3 Warriors, we're really focused on the technology and the impacts that the technology is making for creators and this new creator economy that's built on the blockchain and really just pushing this Web3 agenda forward. And with the focus on international collaboration this week, looking at international DAOs and international collaboration on the Web3 front, there's no shortage of really innovative ideas and opportunities for people to build and collaborate. As I often mention on these shows, I work with a couple DAOs, but especially the Dream Conduit DAO, which is a 501c3 DAO that's focused on onboarding creators and creative people into this Web3 space, into this blockchain space in a kind of safe and kind of comforting way that is, not too much hand holding, because autonomy is very important, but is also kind of open to any questions and trying to show people how you can take your art and basically sell it to a whole new market and put it on a new stage for an international market that is very tech savvy, it's very forward looking, it's very multicultural and very rewarding, not just financially, but in a myriad of ways. And so we really want to get into kind of Abby's journey and really speak to how anybody can take advantage of this avenue, right? And that there's people, creative people that are kind of ready and willing and able to help you kind of push your projects forward, help you bring your projects really into fruition. And this doesn't have to even be limited to projects on the blockchain or projects that are non-fungible tokens only. There are people building out video games, there are people building out IRL events, musicians building out festivals and things like that, but internationally collaborating and incorporating some kind of non-fungible token angle. Maybe it's a membership, maybe it's just a way to fundraise for the overall group. But it's just really exciting to kind of see what the potential is in Web3 and see how basically the technology is kind of breaking down borders, economic borders that were very hard to kind of work past in the past in the traditional space. It was hard to get around a lot of the banking industry regulations around foreign exchange, for example. It was hard to actually collaborate and talk to people in real time and actually be able to transfer money in basically real time without too much kind of red tape. So that's what Web3 is offering. And I think that the more people understand that kind of technological advantage of Web3 and the fact that it really is allowing people to take their mission, take their project, take their art, whatever, creative enterprise they're kind of working on, and bring it to this new platform and share it with people who also are creative, who also want to see others succeed, So I say this often as well on the show. It's about switching from the scarcity mindset, which is kind of the traditional capitalist mindset, old world mindset, to the abundance mindset and the idea that there's always the opportunity to build more, create more, and we're basically creating new GDP, here in the space, and we're creating new economic engine from this space, and it's really exciting. So here on Web3 Warriors, we talk to creators every single week, people who are pushing the space forward, who are busy on the ground, talking to creators, making amazing art, making amazing projects. So we're really happy to have you this week, Abby. I really like to just hear a little bit about your story first before we get into your NFTs and we get into all the amazing work that you're doing on the DAO front and collaborating with these groups, which I have a lot of questions about. I'd love to hear first, how you got into Web3, how did you land on the blockchain, and what brought you here, and then we'll get into your art a little bit before the DAO conversation. But welcome, Abby. Please do share how you jumped into Web3, what brought you to the blockchain.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. I think I started like a lot of people by being on Clubhouse last year. My sister invited me onto Clubhouse, and I was mostly going to be entering like photography rooms, but then I kept seeing crypto art rooms with the title crypto art, and I wasn't really sure what that was. So I just started going into the rooms, and this was like December, December of the year before, January, and then I first minted in February. So like in January, I was just trying to absorb as much information as I could. And then February one night, I just decided like, okay, I need to just try it because like I'm getting all this info, but I don't really understand it. So let me just try it and see what happens. So I minted something really random on Rarible just one night, and I think the gas fees were like $80 or
Oh
something.
my
It was
gosh.
crazy. Yeah. Something crazy like that. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then that Genesis is still sitting there to this day. I don't even like talk about it, but I mean, it's just there to mark the day that I started everything, I guess. But yeah, I minted, and then I was invited to be in a show in Crypto Voxels. It was a Black History Month show. I was invited by Rob and IRL Art because they had curated, and then they covered the gas fees for the artists in the show. And so by them doing that, I ended up having like leftover ETH, and so that remaining ETH I was able to use for my future mints. So they played a huge part in me being able to like continue because like gas fees was really a problem
Yeah.
last
It
year.
was wild last year for sure.
Yeah,
They were
it was
steep.
crazy. I don't know how people do it, but I mean now they're a lot lower, thankfully. But like it was so crazy last year. But yeah, I mean it was literally just I'm just a very curious person. I'm very experimental with art. So like I even thought it was a new style of art. So that's why I was just like, let me go see what this is about. And so yeah, that's just how I started. I
So you were
just
like
dove
myself, Clubhouse, early 2021.
in.
Clubhouse
Yeah,
alumni.
exactly.
Yeah, no, and
Yep.
I remember you in those rooms, and it's been interesting to see the kind of sea change from Clubhouse over to Twitter. Some of us are
Yeah.
still plugging away in Clubhouse, but it's definitely got a lot quieter over there. um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I popped into Clubhouse the other day to see what it was like, and I was like, oh, I see why I left. Some of
yeah.
the room titles, I was like, nah.
It's different. It's a little different for sure. And a
Yeah.
lot of I think the economic and kind of sales slash shill kind of energy really went over to Twitter for sure. I do
Yeah.
think like the onboarding and community and really the ability for everybody to speak and kind of have that real interaction is still, I think, preferable on
Mhm.
Clubhouse. But Twitter is a pretty cool space for sure.
Yeah.
So looking at like obviously you're doing a lot of work on Twitter. I see you leading Twitter Spaces, and you've spoken to the fact that that Black History Month event in February of 2021 was a good kind of catalyst for you. So before we get into your art a little bit, just speaking to that and the fact that an event like that would help you out, how do you feel the space is handling, diversity, multiculturalism, and really, I guess emphasizing events like that and making it possible for maybe some people who are coming from other areas or even just limited income, whatever the case may be, all different types of diversity. Do you think that there is more and more space for that in NFTs and Web3? And do you think it's a pretty kind of egalitarian or good level playing field for people to get in on?
I would say no. I would say things got better since last year, but there's still work to be done. There's definitely a lot more resources to help people get started, and like people are willing to help each other with their initial gas fees, that kind of thing. A lot more onboarding, but there's still not. It's not a level playing field, to be honest.
Mm.
But like we're doing the work, but like other people kind of have to do it too. So hopefully we'll get there, but right now I wouldn't say no. I
Not a
wouldn't say
level,
that.
not quite egalitarian at this point,
Not
eh?
yet.
And when you look at the work being done, well, you're a part of the African NFT Club, for example, and there's a lot of different groups around making sure that people of color have a voice and really speaking up to the collector base and really trying to, I think, grow that collector base, which I think I've identified as a bit of a problem. Like I see collections by Black creators that often are amazing, but for whatever reason, don't resonate and don't catch on with maybe the degen crowd or, the people that really spend buckets of money on NFTs. And why do you think that is? And how do you think we kind of overcome that? Do you think it's just about kind of building out a collector base? Maybe more so among people of African descent or people of color in general?
I definitely think we need more Black collectors that want to collect art and not just like collectibles and stuff. But honestly don't know because it's very hard to get exposure, and so sometimes it's like you're shilling or showing your art to the same people all the time, so you have to like branch out of the community as well. But I mean, there are people that are biased against, like, if you're from certain location or if you have an accent, that kind of thing.
Mm.
So I'm not sure what the solution is, but yeah, we definitely need more collectors that are interested in more like diverse selection of art.
Yeah, I think it's that collector base. I look at, kind of the degen crowd and the more traditional Ethereum collector base, and it's a lot of people who have been in it for a long time, which tends to skew to a certain demographic, but it also just has to do with the type of art and the type of kind of cultural things that they're looking for, which are different, I think, than the aesthetic of, a lot of the beautiful art that I see coming out of Africa or even India and things like that. Yeah, it's a really interesting topic. But before we get into more of that conversation, I would love to hear about your specific projects. I've noticed you've got Zora projects, you've got Foundation NFT projects, you've got some NFTs on object.com. Maybe first you could tell us a little bit about your Meta Nails collection. I'm just really curious about that because I love 3D art, and I don't know if that was your first collection, was it? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
what
actually, I
inspired
think
the
that
Meta
was,
Nails.
yeah, that was it was a collaboration with Hyper9, an artist in Atlanta. And
Nice.
like I had started doing the like nail art on Foundation, like one of ones. But we were like, what would happen if we combined our two styles? Because Hyper9 does the very like high tech, futuristic, and then combining it with the nails. And I was like sculpting the hands and doing the nails. And then he added like the gadgets, and we were like, let's see what would happen. So we did a mix of editions and a couple of one of ones. And so we were able to like sell it out on OpenSea. It wasn't like an instant sellout, and I definitely learned a lot from the collection
Mm-hmm.
because nowadays a lot of people expect like an instant sellout or for things to sell out in a week, that kind of thing. But like I believe we minted in like August of last year, and then we didn't sell the final one of one until sometime earlier this year. So like I've learned a lot of patience and like pricing, that kind of thing. So it was definitely a lesson learned. But yeah, I really like that collection. And we're actually working on a 2.0 just to show how much we both evolved with our art style. So
Nice.
that should be coming out later on. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I really love it. I love the connection. I hadn't noticed the collaboration and the fact that you said Hyper brought in the real techie part, and then you got your hands and the real cool nails in that. I really like this Ethereum one with the cyborg arm.
Yeah. No, Hyper9, he's really underrated. Like more people should look at his stuff for real.
No doubt. He has a lot of collections going down right now too. He does
Yeah,
mostly
he's a
3D,
very
all animated 3D.
experimental guy. I don't know if they're all animated, but yeah, a lot of 3D.
Yeah, some lucky collectors got that beauty for sure. And
Yeah.
that's a really good point about the patience. The amount of projects I've seen just get discouraged and walk away. Artists, both on the PFP side and on the one of one individual artists. The first art piece I collected was a one of one NFT art that I still love to this day. But the artist, I think I'm the only one who ever bought her pieces, and she's amazing, like really, really impressive art. And she just got discouraged and kind of walked away. Which, on one hand, I'm feeling some kind of way, like, oh, it'd be nice if she was a little more active in the space, whatever. But I love my art, it's all good. But it's an interesting kind of issue, I think, in the space, and it's unfortunate for collectors who go out on a limb and collect someone who then gets discouraged and walks away. It's interesting, and I think that matters more on the PFP projects, which I think we could speak to with a common project we have in the block runners, maybe.
Oh God.
But I'll ask you about that if we have time at the end. But looking at your Foundation collection, it looks like very different, right? So not so much the 3D art. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the NFTs you have on Foundation and the kind of aesthetic you're looking for here, and why? Maybe
So
I
I
noticed you do have
haven't.
a few. You have few 3D art pieces. So
Yeah, so last year I haven't minted that much on Foundation this year. Like I just recently did, but last year I had like a series going on, and it was of the nail art. And so I was doing research on like pre-colonial Nigeria, where my family is from, and I found out about uli, which is like an Igbo I guess body art. But it was also done on murals and stuff. But like the Igbo women used to draw all over their bodies, and it was like an act of beautification and stuff like that. But then the Europeans, they discouraged that and were trying to get them into embroidery, that kind of thing. I even asked my grandma about it, and she said, "Oh yeah, I used to see the pagan girls with it, but we weren't allowed to do it because like her family was
Mm,
converted to Christianity,
right.
that kind of thing." So it was just me trying to do more research and also trying to celebrate like the fact that they were just trying to express themselves and beautify themselves, but they were being discouraged, from it. But there's a lot of research and people trying to keep the art alive online. So yeah, I was just trying to contribute to that fact also. So that's what a lot of the ones on Foundation are about. But then there's a few mixed in that like don't necessarily have anything to do with that. Is like I just like to experiment and try new things. And with each work I do, I try and learn something new, a new skill each time, and then put it out and see what happens. So.
No doubt. I'm curious about the tattoo on this one piece. Would that be an example of kind of the symbol that you're speaking to? And so there
Yeah,
were there specific symbolism that they used?
yeah.
Igbo
So I
culture,
was
that's
able
right.
to find like a PDF that the University of Msuka did, where they were trying to write all the meanings of the different symbols. And so yeah, that one it's like an eagle's claw, or
Mm.
yeah, eagle's claw. And so like I don't put necessarily the meaning, although on this one I did put the meaning in the description, but like I try and put context clues around it. So that's why there's like the different feathers around,
Nice.
just like to show the meaning of it without being like too straight up about it. But yeah, that's what each one is. Like you'll see a couple of like context clues to let you understand what the symbols are about.
No doubt. Reclaiming culture, I am learning, is a huge, profound opportunity that we have with Web3 and blockchain, right? Considering the fact that it's immutable, considering the fact that, like you said, your own mother or grandmother was told certain artwork, certain cultural customs were quote unquote pagan. I'm looking at, I've had Kofi on the show a couple times now, the Mr. 3D African Masks,
Yeah.
and he speaks about that often and the fact that their own ancestors were kind of turned away from their own culture, and a lot of things were labeled pagan just because they didn't fit the mold of the Europeans who came over, but they really weren't
Exactly.
pagan, and in some cases they weren't even necessarily spiritual. They were just aesthetic, and artistic, and people just expressing themselves. So yeah, do you think, obviously you're executing on kind of some cultural renaissance, or kind of resurrecting some stories there that maybe would be lost otherwise? Do you see that as a huge opportunity in NFTs, and does that kind of influence your art, the type of NFTs that you're looking to put out?
Definitely, like, because not all of my art is directly about my culture, but like as I learn more of what was going on before colonization, I definitely want to put it out there and have it like permanently on the blockchain. I feel like that's important, so that people can try and learn more. Because like I said, I don't necessarily put the meaning, but I do say like, oh, this is Igbo Uli art, so that people can research it and learn more about it, so that we can keep some of it going on or going around, which is like there's another artist, Leona. She does art about her Eritrean culture,
Oh,
and
I
she
love
does like the
Leona.
same
Yeah,
thing.
she has amazing
Yeah,
art there. Yeah,
exactly. So
it's dope
kind of the
vibe.
same idea.
Yeah, no, I love her art. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has that kind of anti-colonial vibe going too. Yeah, for sure. I got to try to get her on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. So I'm guessing the snake skin on this one, maybe that symbol has something to do with the snake. Yeah, no
Yep.
doubt. I got you. I follow. So
Yeah.
looking at your other pieces here, looking at this kind of the more, are these GAN art? And I saw on your object that you actually had access to Dali. So that's pretty cool. I know they're still doing invite lists only. So you got some pretty awesome open AI access.
Yeah.
What
So
are your thoughts
I've
on
just been
generative art
experimenting.
and AI art? Obviously, you're not opposed to it since you're minting some, but
Yeah, I mean, I was very curious, because I was seeing like Claire Silver, I was seeing the stuff she was rendering, and when I saw Dali and like some of the 3D renders, I was like, this is what? Like I couldn't believe it. And so I've just been experimenting with different prompts and different styles, some 3D, some 2D, just to see like what it comes up with. It's very interesting, and like I was part of the beta testing in the beginning, so we had like now they have like a credit system, but before it was like unlimited, or not unlimited, but like you could do like 500 generations, whatever. And so like I was just testing out different things, and then you can report whether the AI is biased, or like if it came up with something that's like not what you were looking for, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I was doing, and I was doing a lot of like, oh, a black woman this, an African person this, just to see what would come up. And so yeah, it's just very interesting.
And so you weren't discouraged or disappointed with some of the things that came up? Is there a lack of representation or any issues like that, or?
I did see some like weird, like, okay, I typed in African man and African woman, like a couple, and then like the majority of it, like the man was dark skinned and the woman was light skinned.
Mm,
And I was just wondering why, because I described them the same way, and I'm like, why would it like automatically do that? Because that is something you see in the media.
mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that's where it
Interesting,
may
right?
have gotten it from. Yeah, so I was like, that's very interesting. But yeah, a lot of people talk about like the bias, or like sometimes getting racist things.
Mm.
I haven't seen too many other than that, but yeah, it's just interesting to see what it can come up with. I don't know, because I know a lot of people are opposed to it. I do think it'll be good for maybe references. If you have an idea in your head, it can generate something and help you visualize that idea, or something like that. But like, I don't know. There was a lot of like, oh, it's gonna take our jobs, and I'm like, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to experiment, but like I said, I just like to try new things. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
definitely respect that. I've personally been a little bit on the fence, but Dolly, like, this is next level, and the fact that they can combine like real art and aesthetics along with kind of plugging in different CG or AI, I mean, assisted stuff. And I like what you're saying as far as inspiration, and maybe being able to just say something and then it spits something out, and then you kind of run with that, or you're inspired by it. But yeah, overall, the idea that creators, NFT creators, are minting GAN that they just kind of plug in words and then print it off, and don't necessarily put that extra bit of effort into it. It does seem like a little bit of cheating to me, as somebody who loves, traditional art collection and wants to, kind of support artists who are putting their hours in, and I just feel like looking at AI art in general and GAN art, it's like, did you take hours to make that, or did you just write some letters into an app in 10 minutes and spit it out? So to me personally, as a collector,
you have to credit it. You can't pretend like you did it yourself. You have to say in all the captions. So it's not like, as long as you follow that rule, like, it's not really deceitful, because there are some people who are really into AI art. So
definitely,
yeah,
there's a big collector base for it.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that, and so I can't knock it, can't knock the hustle for sure. And I think it's definitely a piece of technology that is not going to go away, as far as even just like you say, on the inspiration side, on helping creators, assisting with kind of creative direction. It's like, why wouldn't you just plug that into a computer if you're really like, stuck on something and you can't think of what you want to do?
Exactly. Or my friend Mel, she's a poet, and like, I think it would be interesting to see what kind of things will pop up with her poetry. I think that would be cool.
That would be really cool. Has Dolly spoken to when they want to open more widely, or do you think they ever will, or they'll always keep it on a kind of invite only?
I have no idea. I mean, like the onboarding, maybe they're trying to be really particular, but now that they're doing the like credit system, maybe they'll open it up. I'm not sure.
Cool. And for those listening, I want to let everyone know you can check it out at openai.com. It's kind of their main project right now. So you just go to openai.com and you'll see a link for Dolly, or Dolly 2. And it is a very cool generative AI art program. Well, they describe it as a new AI system that can create realistic images and art from a description in natural language. So you just tell it what you want to see, and it'll shoot out some art for you. That's some interesting technology. Sasha in the chat saying she loves the idea of using it as a reference. There you go. Thanks, Sasha. Cool. So looking at Zora, I'm really interested in Zora. Personally, haven't collected a piece yet on Zora. What is the pitch for Zora, and what's the advantage of Zora? Like, I've seen a lot of really cool creators, a lot of interesting musicians as well using it. Yeah, what's been your experience with Zora first? I'm just kind of curious about it.
I say I like Zora. I like that they don't take any percentage of what you sell. And I've actually been minting on Zora a lot this year because of like different opportunities. Like, I was part of a curation by the blockchain, and so we used Artiva, which uses Zora. Which that's what makes Zora interesting is you can build things on top of Zora. With Artiva, you can make your own auction house. And so that's what we did for the blockchain. But also, Cyberbot, we had a booth at Art Dubai, and so we also use Artiva, which uses Zora. So like, Zora is just a very interesting platform. I think more people, especially builders, should look into it, see the possibilities. And then I also used Artiva when I curated a show in Chicago, and we had all the art in like one auction house. So yeah, it shows up on Zora, but also on Artiva. I don't know. So far, so good. I like it. It's just I feel like not a lot of people use it. So
And do you think that's gonna change? Are they kind of trending in the right direction, or is it trending up or down? Do you know?
I don't know. I think people should, but I think people are kind of trying to go for the more curated platforms. So maybe not. But also like
Yeah.
on some of the other platforms, they have a bigger collector base, or you can follow the artist, that kind of thing. You can't follow people on Zora. So maybe that's why, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Can you favorite pieces on here?
No, I don't think
No,
so.
right? Okay. Little things that help collectors keep tabs on their NFTs that they like to keep watch on. You know, those little things help for sure. Being able to follow your artists or favorite your favorite piece of art. Small improvements maybe, but yeah, I've seen a lot of really cool kind of grassroots community stuff happening on Zora. So talking about building on Artiva, how does that work, and what's the advantage? Is it like a metaverse space essentially?
No, it's not a metaverse space. It's just like having a curated drop. Like, okay, I curated a show in Chicago and it was all women, and so we were able to have all the art on one page, right next to each other in Artiva, and so we minted everything on Zora, and then you like connect your wallet to Artiva, and then it gets added into that same page. So it's just a good way to have everything in the same place. Basically, it's like you're building
Cool.
your own
Kind of
market.
aggregates stuff, pulls it together. Cool. And you had mentioned Cyberbot. Is it bot or bot? So really
Well,
cool.
it's like French is like cyberbot, but yeah, cyberbot.
Cyberbot. Nice. Is that based
Yeah.
on the Egyptian word? Because there's Ma'at or Ma'at. I'm familiar.
No, Linda, the founder, is from Senegal, so it's based off Senegal.
Senegal term, no doubt. Okay. I'm out to lunch. But it's really cool. Just to piggyback on that, what else can you tell me about Cyberbot and its mission? It sounded like really, really neat.
So Linda started the DAOs to help like promote and uplift African creators and like help us get opportunities. Like I mentioned, the this particular one was for Art Dubai, which is a very big art fair, and so we had our booth there. And that's like an opportunity that I honestly didn't even think that I would be able to have. So I just want to thank Linda and Kenza for that. And so we just do different shows, and they scout different opportunities for us, plug people into different like collaborations, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just like a collective, and it's a DAO. There was a crowd fund, and it's just I don't know. It's just really good. Like, we have the African NFT community, which is really huge. And then Cyberbot is like artists from the community, but like a smaller selection of artists.
Yeah, it sounds
So, yeah.
amazing. So when you say you got into said it was the Saudi
Art Dubai.
Art Dubai. Okay, yeah. So what was that like? And was it just a kind of digital event, or was it IRL? Like they actually had booths set up? Was it both like kind of traditional art and NFT art?
Yeah, so it's a physical event that happens in Dubai, and I believe this might be, I think this was the first year they had NFTs. And so we had our own booth. Linda, another member, Kenza and Aisha, they all like took over the curation and organization of it. And so we all just had to submit some work and mint it on Zora, and so they put together the page. While they were there in person, people actually could see the art like displayed, and someone actually got a bid like in person because somebody wanted to learn about NFTs. They onboarded the person, helped them make a wallet, and then they bid on the art right there at the event.
Nice.
So yeah, it's like a really cool opportunity. And then last year we actually had a show in Senegal, that was my first ever show. I think that was my first ever international show, and then of course my first show in Africa. So like that was huge for me.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing. That's
yeah.
really huge. Wow, that's
Mhm.
really inspiring. And just, yeah, that onboarding is clutch, and that's why these IRL events matter so much. That was one thing I did learn after New York. That was the first time I've actually been in a space with other Web3 enthusiasts. I'm up here in Canada, and we're few and far between.
Yeah.
So it's not often I get to actually speak to a room full of people that are on the same wave and really speaking to
Yeah.
a lot of the technology and the opportunities there. So yeah, I think that's an example, and the onboarding opportunities too, when other people see NFT creators and artists in the space finding success, they're genuinely curious. And it's not the same as hearing it over the phone or seeing it on Twitter, actually seeing
Yeah,
the person and
exactly.
hearing from them directly. That's the future. And so we're definitely trying to lean more into any IRL events. Up here in Manitoba, where I'm at, we're building some Web3 stuff as well to try to onboard. So speaking to the African NFT community, which you mentioned as well, which you've been a very huge influencer in and kind of leader in the space, and really I love dropping in on your Twitter spaces when I can. How do you see that growing, evolving, and to your point earlier, about maybe the collector base versus I'm seeing it, maybe this might be wrong, but it looks like kind of 90% artists, 10% collectors, I don't know, in that space. And do you see, how do you see it evolving? And I'm hoping that there's a future where the African artists that are coming out of this space are prized, and there's an understanding that, especially the OGs like yourself and others who are here, from that beginning, 2021 early, and kind of laid this foundation and did a lot of this groundwork to kind of create the DAO and create, or maybe not even a DAO, but just the community space. Yeah, how do you see it evolving? And do you think that African artists in general are kind of on an upward trajectory? Because the quality is there, there's no question about that. So I'm just hoping to see the collector base continue to grow exponentially.
Yeah, I mean, things last year it was very, very difficult, which is why the community was even created in the first place.
Mm.
Like, it honestly, if you didn't already know people in the space last year, they were not letting you up on those Clubhouse stages. Like, nobody was retweeting you, that kind of thing.
Mm.
So, like, last year it was very difficult for a lot of us to sell things. So I think things have improved. And I definitely think, like, us being a community, and well, we're also like a DAO, like becoming a DAO now, but like us coming together definitely has helped. Like someone like Moonsun Diamond, who is a crazy talented artist, he is now in Christie's, all this kind of thing. Like things have definitely improved due to the power of like working together and helping each other, that kind of thing. Um, we do need more collectors, but more
Mm.
people are like selling work and then turning around and going to buy other people's work,
Nice.
and like more people are plugging each other and like helping each other with opportunities, that kind of thing. So we're definitely, I don't know, it just takes teamwork, I would say. Like
Most
it's
definitely.
definitely helped. Yeah.
So talking about the evolution now from an African NFT community, started out on Clubhouse, migrated to Twitter, continuing to grow. What does that look like evolving into a DAO?
So we want people to be able to like vote on decisions, and to give their opinions. We want to be able to like we've put on physical exhibitions before, But now we're doing like a crowd fund in order to raise money so that we wouldn't have to necessarily go around asking for funding or partnerships, that kind of thing. Like we can be able to put on experiences. We also do a lot of onboarding, but like we want to be able to give people their initial fees to start, whether it's ETH or Tezos, whatever. Like we're just trying to make things easier for people because there are people who live in countries where ETH or crypto in general is like very restricted, that kind of thing. And so they might need a little bit of help to start. So yeah, that's why we're becoming a DAO, so that people have somewhere, so that African artists and Black artists in general have somewhere they can go to if they need help with just about anything, to be honest.
No doubt. Well, that's amazing for one. And for two, there's a lot of money in the space getting thrown at DAOs that have far less inspiring and ambitious plans. So, and do you think this is an honest conversation that I see happening a lot in DAOs that are just forming, right? There's this concern maybe that you become one of those type of almost nonprofits relying on grants and things like that. So maybe you don't want to kind of look for that kind of money that's out there. But at the same time, to your point that you were just describing, whether it's helping new artists kind of onboard into the space or helping your own operational costs, whether it's minting or trying to, pay your team, if you have an executive board or something like that, you kind of need those funds up front, right? And putting all of that on maybe crowdfunding or putting all of it on a specific NFT project might not be the safest way to go, right? There's a lot of risk there that it doesn't pan out or it doesn't, get the uptick that you're hoping for. Whereas the grant opportunities might be an avenue, especially just in the short term, for yourselves as a DAO, as the African NFT community. Is that something you're open to or have talked about? Or is it kind of like you definitely want to do the community funded from the jump and not really look for grants per se?
So we're doing like many different methods, but like the crowd fund, we're not necessarily wanting the artists in our community to give us the funds. Like we've given membership passes for free, so we're not asking them. We're like trying to look outward to see if we can find more supporters, especially collectors who believe in the idea of the DAO. But then we're also currently applying for grants, doing research on different ones. We've been talking to different people, and like we even looked into VCs, but like one thing I was told is like if you're gonna do that, they kind of expect a profit.
Yeah,
kind
they
of
want a
thing.
return.
So
It's not.
yeah, so it wouldn't work. So it's mostly grants and then crowdfunding that we're
Awesome.
doing.
Well, you guys definitely deserve some grants because this is bread and butter. Like every time I see a blockchain video, from the diehards, especially the older ones that go back like 4 or 5 years and they're talking about how Bitcoin's going to radically revolutionize the world and all that, they all, to a person, they all say that developing nations and a lot of these communities that are actually not, they just don't have access to reliable banking, right? They're going to be the first to take it on and push it forward. So when you look at a specific DAO that's focused on helping NFT creators or artists more broadly from the African diaspora and on the continent, actually be able to get their work out there onto the blockchain. Like, I don't think that there is a better onboarding avenue for those developing countries in Africa and for the African community if you're talking about diversity and wanting to get more of those voices heard and kind of in places of influence in this space. It's a no-brainer for anyone who actually wants to do the work and not just talk. Reach out to the African NFT community because they are doing amazing work with really, really high class, like successful artists that are already, completely self-sustaining, but they can't be expected to fund it, right? So there should be I think it's amazing what you guys are working on and the collection of powerful creatives and artists that you have in the space kind of all collaborating together. It's just a shoe-in, for anyone looking to support the African community, anyone looking to support multiculturalism in the space. It's just amazing. So I will be keeping that in mind, and if I hear about any opportunities, I'll send them your way, Abby, because this is really exciting. And the better question maybe for anyone listening is, how do we get involved? How does anyone from the African diaspora who is involved with Web3 on the collector or creator side, how should we get involved?
Yeah, so we have the crowdfund on Mirror. You can contribute, like you can read more and then contribute on there. And when you do in the future, you'll be able to earn the token that you receive from Mirror, and then you will be able to get an NFT in exchange. And then also it's just like showing up to our different events, like our Twitter spaces, that kind of thing, or like if you want to sponsor a specific event, because we are currently planning the trying to have an event at Art Basel. And so like if you want to help fund that, you know, you can always reach out to me, that kind of thing. So or just helping to spread the word, basically. Like that's the different ways that you can help.
Are you going to Art Basel in Miami?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, I'm trying to get out there myself, actually. We're trying to do something with the Dream Conduit out there, so maybe there's some collaborative options there. Do you guys have anything locked in already for African NFT community? Or?
No, we're currently like still in the planning stage and applying for grants and things like that.
Nice. Yeah, well, we'll touch base in the back channel. I definitely want to see what we can do there, because Dream Conduit, we're trying to do some educational stuff out there. We have one potential thing lined up with an art space, but definitely would love to connect with the African NFT community and see what we can do there, because onboarding's huge. And congratulations on this Mirror crowdfunding, because that's the way to do it. That is the Web3 way to crowdfund for sure. And this is a really good site you guys got set up here. So anybody can go to mirror.xyz and I guess just look up African NFT Community, or you can follow their site at africannftcommunity.io and find the crowdfund link there. And yeah, support them on Mirror. I will be donating to that for sure. So it's really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats. It's really the right way. You guys are on the path. Clearly, you got it all lined up. You know what you're doing. It's amazing. It's a great educational opportunity for people. Anybody looking to crowdfund in Web3, specifically for the creation of a DAO or for any projects, really, mirror.xyz is an amazing opportunity, a really great platform for sure. So congrats. That's really, really, really exciting. So one of the other ones you had there on your profile was the Accelerate Art group. I'm really curious about that. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do there and what that group is focused on?
Yeah, so Claire Silver was looking for people who are really involved in helping emerging artists. And so she like put a tweet out, and a lot of people like said, oh, Abby's the person, you know, talk to her, that kind of person.
Nice.
And so she asked me to be part of it. And basically it's a collective of people that are just trying to help uplift and bring opportunities for emerging artists. We actually had a show at NFT NYC in Elizabeth Street Garden. So the show, it was mostly emerging artists, and then those of us in the group, or it's not a DAO, so I'll say the organization, that are artists as well. We had our art displayed there as well, and we've just started doing Twitter spaces. And so the community or the organization like provides resources if you have an idea and you're a member, and you want to help uplift emerging artists, like they will help you make it happen. So me and MDD are part of it. MDD is a Rwandan artist, and he and I currently are like developing an idea, and I'll say more about that later on, you know, when it's more concrete. But yeah, it's just like to help emerging artists.
That's really awesome. That's what it's all about. And do you find that emerging artists, do you think we have a growing crop of artists that are really kind of getting into art because they're inspired by the NFT space?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think maybe I've heard people say like, oh, I didn't think I could be an artist until I started hearing about NFTs, and then I tried it and now I'm hooked, that kind of thing. Like a lot of people didn't see a future in it, and didn't think they could make a living off of art. And then once they heard about NFTs, they're like, okay, let's see what this is about. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting wave, you know, and I myself, you know, I've always loved photography. I've dabbled here and there, but now I've minted like, I don't know how many, 10, 15 pieces of photography. I don't show myself or promote it like I should, but, you know, it's building that confidence, but more so feeling comfortable and actually wanting to express myself that way. wouldn't have done that without NFTs. I wouldn't be going looking for galleries or someone to take my photos and put it out there, even though I think they could be worth it. Like, I have some pretty nice photos that maybe a
I
gallery
mean, I
would want
think
it,
you
you know?
should. I honestly didn't know you did that until you just said it.
Well,
So
yeah,
I
you
think you
can
should.
check. I appreciate that. Yeah, I should talk about it more. But yeah, it's just an example of, I'm one of those people, kind of like, yeah, I'm somewhat creative. I've dabbled here and there, but because of NFTs and because I'm inspired and I want to share my creations with the world, and there's the immutability side of it, right? Like, if I mint, some of these are historically relevant pictures, even if the history is more relevant to me than maybe everyone else, but also, you know, historically relevant things that are happening in my city that I think are worth taking pictures of. So yeah, just being able to actually get that opportunity and express yourself, I think is a really cool wave that is being overlooked. And I know I hear a lot of people talking about, don't call me an NFT artist, and I respect that. Artists are artists for sure. But at the same time, there's something to be said about those who are being pushed by NFTs into the art space, you know? And I'm not saying they should be called NFT artists, but I do think that it's an interesting angle that is not really emphasized as much. We like to hear from the artists who are traditional artists and now jumping into the space. A lot of the times, obviously, they bring their collector base, and so that helps the space as well. But I want to hear more from people who are actually inspired by the technology and by the space, and that are then, you know, finding success. And I think that's what resonates with Kofi's story a lot to me as well, because that's kind of what happened with him. As far as he told me, like, he was interested in the masks, but he hadn't taken it to that step of like, I'm going to put these masks out and tell the story and share it and, you know, sell them and be able to create some revenue and then give back to my community. You know, that all just spiraled out of the blockchain, you know, and he says that himself, and he wouldn't have done any of that without the blockchain. So it's a really, really
Yeah, and
cool.
Kofi's collection is very important because he puts a lot behind it. And when he did the like Crypto Voxels walkthrough of the museum, I was like, wow, like he knew everything just off head. Like, oh, this mask is from here, and this. I was like, wow, like it's definitely needed on the blockchain.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we'll hear more awesome stories like that. But let the technology inspire you. That's the moral of that one. So the other one I want to ask you about, well, actually, there's two more, but the VCA residency sounded kind of interesting as well. What's the story on that one? You're a busy lady, by the way. Like, how are you plugging in on all these different organizations?
I'm just like, I don't know. I just like to try new things and just have goals I'm trying to reach. So I'm like, let me see, and I'm taking chances, all that kind of thing.
Respect it.
But yeah, the residency, it like starts on Monday. I'm curious to see what it's like. My friend Linda Dunia, who's founded Cyberbot, she did the residency last year. And she really enjoyed it. And so I was telling her like, oh, I think maybe I'll apply. And she's like, oh yeah, you should. So yeah, I applied and I was accepted. And so we'll see. I believe it's how many? I think it's 12 weeks long. It's just like learning different aspects of like Web3, and there's
12
like
weeks.
mentors and stuff. Yeah.
That's serious.
Yeah, very
That's like
long.
a college program.
Yeah. Basically, but yeah, I'm just very curious to see what all can come from it and what I'll learn and the different people I'll meet. So yeah.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, any listeners listening, is it too late to apply for that, I guess, since it's starting this week?
Yeah, for this round. I'm not sure when the next one will be, but yeah.
Well, you can check it out at residency.verticalcrypto.art. That definitely sounds really cool. As we're winding down, I do want to give the opportunity for anyone in the chat, if you have any questions for Abby or myself, feel free to share. Thanks, Sasha, for chiming in. Definitely liking the Igbo culture that you brought up, and all the African artists. It's really inspiring, really cool. So I do have to ask you, and you know, I love the art on this project, so I just got to bring it up. The block runners, you know, it was basically the coolest PFPs I've ever seen of any project. Just really amazing art. I wanted to see the comic book. I wanted to see the animated show. I didn't know where it was going, but I wanted to see it. But unfortunately, the creators got a little discouraged, it seems, and kind of stepped away,
Well,
and a lot of us were left holding the bag on these beautiful NFTs. And you were kind of part of the community outreach, and you helped as well. So what's the story? I'd love to hear it, because I think there's learning lessons in PFP projects that don't quite pan out, you know?
yeah, I mean that was my biggest lesson last year, because it literally happened in December when they decided to just go ghost on the project, the
Mm.
founders, and I was just like, they okay, things weren't going well because for some reason I can't remember what it was, but like ETH had really spiked when it was about to launch. The gas had spiked so crazy, and so like instead of delaying or like finding something else, like a new idea, they were like, no, let's still launch it. And so of course people weren't wanting to mint something where the gas fee was more than the actual NFT, so it wasn't an instant sellout. So obviously that's what they anticipated. Because I mean, look at the art; is great, all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
it
But like,
is. It's next level.
ugh, they just like I just started to notice things, and like I would be like, "Hey, can we do this thing?" And I wasn't hearing back, and I'm just like, "Why am I not hearing back?" There was like slowly and slowly there was like less and less communication from the like owners, and I'm just like, okay. And so I even had to tell people like, all right, I don't know what's going on, but I don't think y'all should buy these anymore.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden I wake up and someone who I don't even know, who was like in the Philippines or something, sent me a message on Discord, and they were like, where's the Block Runners server? And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I go and I was like they did not tell anybody. It was the two owners. They just deleted everything. They didn't say a word. They literally just left the rest of us out to dry. But especially me, because I was the like community manager. So obviously I was handling questions, all that kind of thing. So they legit were gonna let me take the fall for it.
Mm.
And it was just I was so stressed out, and I was so mad because I'm like, they really just like ran off like with the funds, and just, or maybe I should be careful what I say, whatever, but like they just deleted everything and ran off the website. Everything was just gone,
Yeah.
and they had no good explanation for it. And so I had to like quickly put out a tweet and be like, y'all, I don't know what happened, I'm so sorry. Because if not, people probably would have thought I was part of it too, and I would
Mm-hmm.
never do something like that.
Right.
It was, man, I felt so bad, but they really did this to everybody, because it was just them two. They were the only two that knew. But I had a feeling, because I'm like, why am I getting less communication? So people should be very careful about Web3 opportunities, and of course about a lot of these projects, because a lot of these people, they have the ability to just rug and run,
Dip out.
you know. So
So what do you think is
like
like?
instead of I don't know. But anyway, what were you gonna say?
No, it's all good. I guess I'm just curious. What do you think the best learning lesson is in that? And I know you mentioned that the artist is still interested, right? So like these two people who are kind of leading the project were not the artist, and I think that might be a learning lesson in and of itself, right? Because what I've found, the best projects, not necessarily by monetary value, but the best projects by A, being rewarding, and B, being like long lasting and not just disappearing, are the ones that are led by the artist themselves, right? So maybe that's a big learning lesson. Is the artist in control of this project? And if they're not, I'm not saying it's always a fail. If you use that metric against the Bored Apes, obviously that would be a fail, because the Bored Apes are doing well, even though their artist is not the lead of the project. But in general, I think the projects where the artist is the lead, or at least part of the main lead team, are the best ones to go with. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so, because they definitely will care a lot more. They'll have a deeper connection
Right.
to the collection for sure.
Yeah, and so looking at the art with this one, because that's what made the collection, I think everyone would agree. Not whatever those two bozos at the top were doing. But do you think that they just got discouraged and did that way, or was it purely monetary and they just said, hey, we got this bag, let's just take it and go and get out of here?
I think they definitely got discouraged, but at the same time, they didn't know what they were
They
doing,
didn't
to
handle
be
it
honest.
professionally, yeah.
They didn't at all. Like, there was no problem solving anything. Like, there was so many different ways and different things that could have been done, because ETH, okay, it was supposed to be an ETH and Solana collection.
Mm.
because the gas was so crazy high, we could have like tried to focus on the Solana part or like
Yeah.
moved everything to Solana. Something like there was something that could have been done, or if you wanted to quit, offer refunds and do that. But no, they just gave up and left the rest of us to answer the questions and be like, whoa, you know. Thankfully, I didn't get attacked or anything because
Mhm.
I mean, most people knew, like, okay, she's not going to do something
Yeah,
like
Abby
that.
wouldn't
But
do this. Yeah.
yeah, but they were asking me, like,
Mm.
what happened? I'm like, whoa, I have no idea. I just woke up. Like, ugh,
Yeah, that's
that
rough.
was
I'm sorry to
horrible.
trigger you. I'm so curious. I had to ask.
No, this is my first time talking about it, like,
No, that's
other
good
than
then.
to close friends. So yeah, they really could have messed things up for me, to be honest, because I was seen as like the face of that project. So
Mm. So on
yeah.
the art side, what is the potential? What is the chance that the artist takes control of this brand and comes back out with something?
They we tried to get ownership of the collection. They want us to buy it from them.
Ah, of course.
Yeah.
And so the artist has the ability to just create dope stuff that's maybe similar, but I guess then you're starting from whole new IP and it's just a whole new thing, right? Is the
Yeah,
artist
that
how's the
would take
artist
a
doing?
long
That's the better
time.
question. How's he or she doing?
He's fine. His name's Jerome. You know, he has a lot of like professional commissions and stuff, so like
Hmm.
this didn't hurt him too bad. It's just like everybody we were just like, this is such a shame and like how can they do this kind of thing. So
Right. Cool, cool. Well, yeah, I think that's the main learning lesson is try to make sure the artist is part of the team, but the other part is like unfortunately, this is part of the Web3 space. This is the autonomy that every project team does have. Some
mhm.
are far more shady about it and are really just in it from the beginning to basically sell as many NFTs as possible and then dip out and just leave you. I do think, from what I can gather, it seems like this project team had very good intentions, at least, and a very ambitious roadmap. And they seem to have gotten really discouraged when things didn't sell the way they wanted to. I know there was that attempt for a last push as well, and I guess that didn't go that well. And then they just said, screw it, and they just shut everything down. A lot of learning lessons out of that. But thank you, Abby, for being honest and just, clear about that. And hopefully this
Yeah.
maybe helped you therapeutically a little bit. You can share your story.
Yeah, hopefully someone can learn from me.
Yeah, yeah. So Sasha was asking, are they saying that you would have to basically buy this entire collection from them, or were they just trying to sell like a bulk price to get the smart contract, or how were they trying to pitch that?
Yeah, like the name, the art, everything. They wanted like they're like, "Oh, how much?" And I'm like, "Why would we give no." Like no.
It's like we're offering to resuscitate a dead project, like
Yeah.
that's a lot of energy and work to
Like
be
you
done. Mhm.
ruined the reputation,
Right.
you know, but you're asking us for money like good luck.
No, they're out to lunch for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. And I'd love to see what the artist has going on. Does he have other NFT stuff happening, or he just mostly like commission and traditional art?
Just like mostly commissions. He wasn't really in NFTs before it,
Mm,
so yeah. I
gotta
think
get
they
him
found
in.
him like,
Tell him
on
people
Artstation.
want more from him because these block runner art pieces are amazing. Just the colors, the vibe, like everything was just really amazing. So
Yeah, I mean, it was so cool. It could
yeah.
have been so
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. One day, Abby,
Yeah,
it's gonna get revived somehow, some new derivative of it, and we'll
so
we'll
we'll
see
see.
Jerome. He'll be back in the space.
Yeah.
All right, cool, cool. So final question that we always wrap up on is, how do you feel people who are kind of hesitant about blockchain should look at the space? And what do you say to those who are kind of either just too dissuaded by some of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or just aren't prioritizing it, especially artists who are maybe struggling, that stereotypical struggling artist, right? And there's this avenue for this new opportunity. How do you pitch it to those people, and what do you say to those that are maybe still concerned about some of the FUD?
I would say like do your own research, which is a term that's used so often, but you do have to do your own research because I know there's a lot of people who don't like it based off of, what they see on Twitter or different things like that. But like if it's a thing about the environment, there are blockchains that don't cause negative effects to the environment. So you can try on Tezos. put something up for one tez, see what happens, that kind of thing. Like,
Mhm.
and then if you still don't like it, then that's okay. Like, it's not. I don't know. I don't try and like persuade anyone because I'm just like, okay, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But like, at least look into it because personally, like, I'm actually able to live life off of my art, and this is the first time I've been able to do that. And I know a lot of people have this like similar story. So
Congrats.
yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. And talking about Tezos, I do think that's a great low cost onboarding option. It's still a blockchain, it's still immutable to the extent that Tezos will exist for the foreseeable future. And it's very low cost. Yeah, it's just amazing. Granted, you'll probably sell your art at a much lower cost as well, but that's okay for understanding,
Yeah.
the technology and just being able to say, hey, somebody collected my art. I know one of my artist friends here, that was the first platform I got him on, and he sold his piece the first day that he made his Tezos profile, and he just sent out a bunch of like pictures of his acrylic art that he had created, and someone bought one right off Twitter. So that was really inspiring. I wasn't even expecting that. And so now he's caught the bug and he's trying to get onto OpenSea and all that. But yeah, I agree. I think Tezos is a really awesome option. And I had looked at your object.com page as well, and I noticed you had some photography on there, and that's really cool. Black and white photography. Is that from Nigeria during your visit?
Yeah, so the last time I was there in 2018, I had a film camera, and so I took it with me, and I took some photos of the house, and then I went with my cousin like to the market, and I took some photos there too. Developed them in the dark room, all that kind of thing, and so I've just had them on my portfolio. So I was just like, okay, let me just put it on
Oh,
Tezos,
they're beautiful.
and see what happens. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I just put it for one tez, two tez, different prices, just to see what would happen. So I've sold some editions, but then there was also like a big one of one event, and they were like encouraging people to mint one of ones and price it like you would in ETH.
Hmm.
So we've seen a lot more higher sales now, especially because Misan is collecting art for the Tezos Foundation. So I've seen some Tez works go for like 15,000 Tez, something like that.
Never
So,
seen
and
that
that's
high.
prices we weren't seeing before. So yeah,
I saw
there's a lot of possibilities.
vintage Mozart was doing some pretty high dollar Tezes. I think they were 1,000 Tez or 100 Tez. I can't remember, but he's got some pretty
Yeah,
high end one of ones on there for sure.
yeah, we're all like trying the different prices because they're trying to get more people to come to Tezos. So
Cool. Well,
we'll
vintage
see.
Mozart's another one I'd love to talk to. So maybe you can put in a good word for me, Leona. Vintage Mozart, they're welcome. We love to talk to some creative geniuses here. So invitation open. But thank you so much, Abby. It's been a really amazing conversation. I think you touched on so many awesome properties and like projects that are happening, DAOs that are getting built. The fact that you are like connecting with the diaspora. You're in Texas, right? And you're doing all of this work with the African NFT community. Would you say there's one country within Africa that's kind of most overly represented? I would guess Nigeria, but I'd be curious, since you're so much more on the ground, do you think it is a pretty broad kind of cross section of different countries, or do you think that one is kind of more represented than others?
Well, I think I think because Nigeria has like the highest
Billions of
population or
people, yeah.
something. Yeah, so I think that's why. And Nigerians are just very like go-getters, so they like seize opportunities. A lot of the artists, that's why we have so many. So yeah, there's some other countries where I would like to see more artists come from there, but yeah, Nigeria is the most populous, so
No
it makes
doubt.
sense
Makes
why
sense,
we
yeah.
have the most people from there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're blowing out, man. The amount of amazing Nigerian art I see coming out of there is really amazing.
Mhm.
But definitely, like you said, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Ghana, Kenya. I'd like to see some more out of Sierra Leone. That's my father's land. I haven't seen any from Sierra Leone yet, but that'll be cool to see too. But definitely awesome. Thank you so much, Abby. We're going to keep tabs. Everybody check out African NFT Community, especially if you're part of the diaspora and a creator. You want to tap in there. And yeah, just follow Abby on Twitter at Abieyuwa That's Abieyuwa Art on Twitter. Follow her up, and definitely follow us at Web3 Warriors. If you have any thoughts, questions, you can contact us at web3warriors@gmail.com as well. And again, Abby, that was some great advice. Do you have any closing thoughts or anything you'd like to add before we wrap here?
No, just like don't be afraid to take opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities out here, and even if it's not selling art, there's jobs, there are grants, different things like that. Learn Solidity, all that kind of thing. Like, there's so
There
many
you go.
possibilities in Web3.
That's the gold. Learn some coding. You really want to benefit on this. You don't even need to
I
do
need to
art.
do that.
Right? That's where the
Yeah.
that's where the real money's at, for sure.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much, Abby. Great advice. And we'll be tuning in and following you on Twitter for sure. Thank you for everything you do in the space. And until next time, catch everybody in the metaverse. Take care.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Thank you. Bye.